The bitter truth is this: wealth is a flickering shadow. Power is a morning vapor that vanishes by noon. But the way your child's small hand feels in yours as you walk them to the bus stop, that is the only currency that holds value in the end. I used to think silence was the sound of success. I pursued it like a predator. Back then, silence meant the kids were finally asleep or out of the room, so I could finish that quarterly report that was going to change everything. Silence meant the house was empty because they were at a birthday party or a park I was too busy to visit, giving me 8 uninterrupted hours to climb the next treacherous rung of the corporate ladder. I thought I was winning the war against chaos. But at 73, I've learned that silence isn't a luxury. It's a sentence. It's a vacuum that sucks the air out of your lungs. I sit here in a house that is fully paid for. No mortgage, no debts, just deed and title. The crown molding is hand-carved mahogany. The floors are Italian marble, polished to a mirror shine. I spent 30 years killing myself, working 80-hour weeks, and sacrificing my sleep to afford this specific postcode and this cavernous square footage. I called it a legacy. And you know what? The marble is cold under my feet. The rooms are too big for one pair of footsteps. And the silence. The silence is so heavy it feels like it might crush the ribs right out of my chest. It is a museum of a life I never actually lived. I told myself I was doing it for them. That was the great lie I wrapped myself in every morning at 5 a.m. as I cinched my tie and put on my suit like a suit of medieval armor. I used providing as a shield against the guilt of my absence. I told Sarah, my wife, I'm building our future, just hang on a little longer. I told my son, Lee, Daddy has to work so we can have the big house with the pool and the best trainers. I thought providing was a mathematical equation. I thought being a father was a series of financial transactions. I provided the private school tuition, the luxury cars, the designer clothes, and the 5-star vacations to tropical resorts where I spent the entire duration on my laptop by the pool, tethered to a world that didn't love me back. They swam and laughed 10 feet away, and I was 1,000 miles away in a spreadsheet. What I didn't realize, what I was too arrogant and blinded by ambition to see, was that they didn't want the pool. They didn't want the label on the shirt. They wanted the man. They wanted the father. I was so focused on my career, the perceived strength, the dominance in the boardroom, the rising bottom line, that I let the health of my soul wither into nothing. I was a grandmaster at the office and a ghost at home, and I was too intoxicated by the hustle to smell the smoke as my own house burned down around me. There's a cardboard box in the attic, tucked behind some old suitcases. I found it last week while looking for a heater. It's filled with crayon paintings. Rough, waxy stick figures with giant heads, lopsided smiles, and bright yellow suns in the corners. I remember the day Lee brought one of those into my home office. I can still see the smudge of blue wax on his thumb. I didn't even look up from the glowing screen. I didn't even break my stride. I told him, "That's great, buddy, really good. Just put it on the pile. Daddy's on a high-stakes conference call." I can still see the way his shoulders dropped, a tiny collapse of spirit I chose to ignore. He didn't ask twice. He never asked again. He just turned and walked out, closing the door softly. I missed the school plays where my daughter Maya played the lead and scanned the darkened crowd for my face, only to find her mother's brave, forced smile and an empty seat. I missed the rain-soaked sports games where she scored the winning goal and turned instinctively to the sidelines, hoping to see me cheering, only to remember I was in a sterile hotel room in Chicago or London or Dubai, closing a deal that no one, not even my former company, remembers the name of today. You think you can make it up to them later. You tell yourself time is a bank account you can overdraw now and repay with interest when things quiet down. But time is a fireplace. When a moment is gone, it is incinerated. It is grey ash scattered to the wind. You cannot unmiss a first step. You cannot unmiss the trembling voice of a teenager needing a father's guidance. You cannot reclaim the intimacy of 10,000 missed Tuesday night dinners that you traded for a PowerPoint presentation that ended up in a digital trash bin a week later. Sarah stayed for 28 years. She was a saint who lived in a desert. She moved like a quiet ghost through this house, keeping the peace, packing the lunches, and shielding the kids from my jagged irritability when I was under pressure. I remember one specific anniversary, our 20th. I'd booked the most expensive table in the city, a place where people go to be seen. I arrived 45 minutes late, my phone still buzzing against my thigh like a nervous twitch. I spent the entire meal talking about my boss's incompetence, the impending merger, and the big move we were making that would finally put us over the top. She looked at me, really looked at me, with eyes that were grieving, and said, "I'd rather have a stale sandwich on a park bench with the man I married than this 5-course meal with a stranger who looks like him." I laughed it off. I thought she was being sentimental, being dramatic. I told her she didn't understand the stakes. She wasn't being dramatic. She was checking out. She was mourning the man she loved who had been slowly replaced by a machine made of leather and ego. Eventually, the grief became a wall. When the kids left for college, the silence between us became a canyon so wide I didn't even have the tools to build a bridge. Now she's in a small cottage by the sea, surrounded by gardenias and real friends, living a life I am not a part of. And I am here, with my marble floors and my gold-plated regrets. The bitter truth is this: wealth is a flickering shadow. Power is a morning vapor that vanishes by noon. But the way your child's small hand feels in yours as you walk them to the bus stop, that is the only currency that holds value in the end. Everything else is just noise designed to keep you from noticing your life is passing you by. If I could show you my heart today, if we could peel back the skin and look at it superimposed over this tired old chest, you wouldn't see a successful titan of industry. You'd see a map of deep, jagged scars. You'd see the glowing, healthy colors of what could have been, the vibrant reds of passion and the deep blues of peace, clashing violently with the cold, gray reality of what is. My heart should be a library of laughter, the lingering smell of Sunday morning pancakes, and the comforting weight of a wife's hand on my shoulder. Instead, it's a reinforced vault of what-ifs and if-onlys. I am 73 years old now. I have more money in the bank than I could spend in 3 lifetimes of luxury. And I tell you this with every ounce of honesty I have left. I would give every single cent, every car, every investment, every square inch of this hand-carved house just to go back to 1995 for 1 single hour. I'd go back to that golden afternoon when Lee wanted to show me the beetles he found in the garden. I'd shut the laptop. I'd throw the phone into the tall grass. I'd sit in the dirt and let the mud ruin my expensive trousers. I'd look at the beetles through his eyes. I'd look at my dear baby son until I memorized the shape of his joy. I'd stay there until the sun went down and the stars came out, and I wouldn't check my watch even once. You watching this right now, perhaps on a break, perhaps late at night while your family sleeps in the other room. You're in the thick of it. You're exhausted. You're driven by a fire you think is noble. You feel the crushing weight to provide, to be the alpha, to secure a future you can't even describe. You think you're doing the right thing for the people you love. But look at me. Look at the hollow in my eyes and the stillness of this house. All is not lost for you. Not yet. Unlike me, you still possess the one thing that all the gold in the world cannot buy back, today. You still have the present tense. If you are breathing, if you are listening to my voice, the clock hasn't run out. You are not me, yet. You can still change the final chapters of your story. You don't have to end up in a big silent mansion wondering why the people who share your last name feel like strangers. The 5 p.m. boundary approaches. When you cross that threshold at home, the poor work you had must be laid to rest. The poor father, husband you had must be resurrected with full intensity. Put the phone in a drawer. Not on the silent mode, not face down, in a drawer, in another room. Be unreachable to the world so you can be reachable to your children. Yes, be absent to the outside world so you can be in the present for your children. The small things matter most. Your children don't give a damn about your job title or your LinkedIn endorsements. They care if you know the name of the monster under their bed, the name of their favorite teacher, or what they're afraid of. Learn those things. They are the only secrets worth knowing. Then, listen to the silence. If your spouse has stopped complaining about you working late, if she's stopped asking when you'll be home, if she no longer calls you once an hour, you haven't won the argument. You've lost the relationship. She's learned to live without you. She doesn't care anymore. You don't matter any longer. Wake up before that independence becomes permanent. Redefine providing and what that means. Start providing presence. Provide stability. Provide the memory of a father who was there, whose eyes lit up when they entered the room. That is the only inheritance that won't be taxed or spent. I'm a cautionary tale, a ghost from a future you do not want. But you don't have to follow my footsteps into this silence. Tomorrow morning, don't just go to work. Go to your family first. Hug your wife until she's the one who pulls away, startled by your warmth. Sit on the floor and play the boring imagination game your daughter wants to play and give it your full attention. Listen to the long rambling story your son is telling, even if it makes no sense and you have an email waiting. Those are the bricks of a real legacy. Not the ones made of clay and mortar, but the ones made of breath, blood, and time. I can't go back. My children's crayon paintings have faded into the dark. The school plays are long over. Sarah's heart has found peace elsewhere. But you are still standing in the light of the sun. Don't wait until you're 73 to realize that the wrong things were the ones you spent your life chasing, and the right things were the ones you walked past every single day on your way to the office or the factory. Go home. Be present. Start right now.